think about, am I on the pursuit of the goal, the purpose, the assignment that I have set out for me, or am I attached to only doing it when it's attached to this particular thing over here? Welcome to Elevation Change, episode 7. Like, subscribe, share this with somebody. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. You know we were off last week. Y'all got a chance to catch up. But this episode is all about leading without authority. And so, like, for the Elevation Change podcast, you always know, get ready to take your mind on a journey of transformation with Elevation Change, right? This podcast explores the peaks, the valleys of personal growth, and the pursuit of life with a purpose. So we're talking leading without authority, right? And that's very hard for people to do because everybody wants to put this title on. Everybody wants to flex I'm a manager, supervisor, team lead, I'm a director, I'm a vice president, something like that. But like the real place and where you start leading people is when you are within a team, like when you're just generally working within people, because what happens is you don't just become a leader after you get the title or a position or whatever it may be. And so I wanted to give y'all some things today just to give you an idea of how practically you can work on your leadership skills without waiting for that opportunity to come or a position to be had or anything like that, because you can lead within your team today. And to be honest with you, the leader that you have, the supervisor, manager, whoever it is, they are probably waiting for someone to step up and actually lead, because a lot of times, and I'm just being real with y'all, a lot of times people also want to listen to you, and our voices as leaders don't connect with everybody. So let's talk about that for a second, right? So we're establishing relationships with people, and that's number one on here, right? So if you don't have any authority or position or anything like that, you want to start with establishing relationships. And why is that pivotal? Because people want to work for, people want to lead, and if you really think about this, people do not follow like people that they don't bring them to the promised land. They don't see a vision. They don't see where this person can help them out, right? You're not a leader if you don't have followers. So work on establishing those relationships within whatever team you have. And I've been in plenty of them. I've been on teams where I'm the youngest, I'm 18, 19 years old, and everybody around me is 30 plus. I've been on teams where I'm 18, 19 years old, and I have to work directly with 50-year-olds. I've been on teams where I'm working with people who are younger than me. I've worked on teams where everybody's the same age as me. I've been through a gambit of people and ages and thoughts and cultures, but it all comes to building relationships. And so like I think about one time, and I actually posted this on the internet the other day, and I worked at a warehouse, and everybody in that warehouse was older than me. The salespeople were older than me. The people I worked in the warehouse with were older than me. The drivers were older than me. I'm realistic. I'm like probably 19 at this time. And so I get appointed, just a long story short, I get appointed because of my abilities as the lead, like order taker, basically, right? And so when an order comes in, I'm the one who pulls it, make sure that I quality control, stuff like that. I delegate out, who's going to pull what, who's going to get what item. And what really helped me was that I'm working literally with people who are 40 years old, 50 years old. They have lives, they have children, they have kids that are my age, and they have to take orders from me, right? But here's the thing. You might say, well, they have to take orders from you because somebody appointed that to you. No. We were still equals. But what led up to this, when they did say, hey, you're going to be the person of quality control to delegate each task and whatnot, what led up to it was me getting to know them. Where you come from, right? And if they're ever watching this, Bubby, Richard, one of y'all, way older than I am. Pork Chop, way older than I am. Frenchie, way older than I am. But I had to develop a relationship with them. Like, that stuff doesn't come by just saying, hey, I got the title, you do what I say, we move on. They wanted to work with me because they understood like who I am. They understood what I was about. They understood that I wasn't coming at them with, well, I have this power now, so now you have to listen to me. We were working together.
And I always carry that in my life when I said no one ever works for me. We work together. And that's realistic because, look, I'm going to tell it to y'all like this. For those of you who are listening to this podcast right now, thinking that you have people who work for you, I want you to realize that you serve a function in the job. If you're a manager, you reach a certain level to help your supervisors. If you're a supervisor, you handle a certain level to help your associates. If you're even an associate, you work at a certain level to help your peers. If you're a director, so forth and so on, like each level that you go up, because I know some jobs, supervisors higher than manager somehow, but team lead is the top dog or whatever. However your hierarchy works, you just have a certain function that has to happen for your team. That's why you work with people. But we're moving on, right? So establishing relationships. So the next thing is you have to build credibility and trust. And so I wanted to start with establishing relationships, because until you know someone and until you know what they're about, where they came from, things that they've done in their life, right? Like the person who says, hey, I used to work offshore. Now I'm a salesman for this company, but I've gotten my hands dirty. I've done some stuff that I didn't want to do, right? Like I know that to your core, you're blue collar, but right now you have a white collar job because you sit in a nice office and all that stuff. And we could look at this person and say, oh, well, they don't act this particular type of way. They don't know how it goes. They don't know what struggles we're going through because they're sitting in the office. Lo and behold, they've done this for 20 years and they finally moved to the office. But we're moving on from that, right? So we're talking about the next step in this, which is building credibility and trust. So let's talk about how we do that. You build credibility in a few different ways, right? So you want to make sure that when you're building your credibility, that other people understand who you are, right? So we want to get to know them, but you want them to also get to know you. You want them to see what your vision is. You want to see what you may be doing, right? And so in this particular case, we work together because we're on the same playing field, right? I don't have a title that's higher than this person. But how do I build credibility with this person? What type of work do I do? Right? How helpful am I? I'm going to talk about these things later, and you'll start to see myself reiterate certain points. But that's how we start to build credibility. How much knowledge am I trying to gain? Am I open to learning certain things? Can I be trusted? I talked about credibility and trust. Can I be trusted? If someone says, hey, can you have my back because I'm going to be off today, is what you have going to be done? Like, I want y'all to really think about, and this building credibility is short and sweet because your actions every single day, and I'm going to talk to y'all more, which will go back into building credibility and trust. Your actions every single day are going to show people why they should be following you, why when you open your mouth, they should listen to you, why when you ask them to do something that they'll do it for you, which segues me into the next session, right? Into the next thing, which is being a team player. See, nobody's going to follow you if it's always me, me, me. No one's ever going to want to help you. No one's ever going to want to have your back. They're not going to ask you to do for them because they're always going to think that you're out to put yourself on the top. Like that is a very big piece what people miss in building trust, in being a peer leader, right? Getting to know people is because they come off as the person of, I want to help you because it's going to make me look good. When guess what? In reality, when you help people, when you're a team player, when you pick up the slack for other people when they need you, you're automatically going to be seen. People are automatically going to acknowledge you. And that's what I need you to understand, right? Like, be a team player for other folks because when you need them to lead, like you might be down and out. You need to lean on them for a second. They're going to have your back. Because they saw when they were in that position, you had their back. So we're moving on, right? So we're building a team player. We're building credibility. We're building trust. We're getting to know people. And so here's the part where you actually start to do the peer leadership thing, right? Leading with no title. Leading when we're on the same level. This is the part that we start to get to it. So this part, you want to start to mobilize your team, right? Like you want to start to get to a position where you take the people who are bought into you, the people who listen to you, you want to put them in a position where they can do their work, right? Where they can sing your praises, where when you need to ask them to do something, they're going to just without snap of a finger, they're going to do it for you. Those people will start to sing your praises. If you need something done, and here's what happens, right? And I almost could hint to what the next episode is, and it's having a difficult boss. So tune into that one. Be ready for that one. But when you're trying to make real change and you want your voice to be heard and you're trying to help the department, a lot of y'all have been here before. You have to mobilize the people around you that will actually have your back. This doesn't happen without being the team player, without understanding somebody, without learning people, right? It doesn't happen without trust, because then they're just going to think, hey, he's just trying to throw me, she's just trying to throw me at the front line, and then I'm going to take the brunt of whatever punishment comes, when in reality, there's power in numbers, right? It's real cliche, but there's power in numbers. And so the next part is so we get to a space where you can get your allies, basically. You can get them moving into a certain direction. If you need their help on something, they can have your back for it. But now you have to get to a spot where you give practical solutions. See, this is where the help comes in. And this is a part where you start to further establish your leadership within your team, because you provide solutions on other people's problems. Maybe you see that this person has a time management issue and you show them, hey, here's what I do with my day. Maybe you understand that another person on your team has great time management, and maybe your direct supervisor, whoever that may be, your manager, is trying so hard to work with this person, and y'all have it figured out already. Because you work with that person every day, you're in the trenches with them all day, and then you can go in and say, hey, look, I really think you should go shadow this person. I really think you should look at this person, right? Take the skill set from this other person. Maybe if it's you that's really good at it, you say, hey, come on over. I wanted to teach you how to do this. It's going to make your day easier every single day. It's going to make your week easier. Don't worry about it. And so then you start to put people in a position where you assert yourself like you are a guru. Right? You may not have a title, but now you start to show people, I know what I'm talking about. I've had jobs where people have been there 3, 4, 7 years, 10 years there, more than I was. But I'm showing them things that I picked up and tips and tricks and these things. And they start to look at me and be like, hey, how would you handle this situation? Let me get your thoughts on this. How would you go about doing these things? Because they knew that when they came to me, I could give them real solutions to what their problems were. It wasn't about age. It wasn't about title. They weren't worried about, well, I haven't been here as long as these people. They saw, which happens with all people, whether you're in business, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you have a leadership position at a job, wherever it may be, inside your house, whatever it might be, people will always look for practical solutions. If you can provide that to them, you will assert yourself as a guru. But here's the next part. And this is going to hurt for a second. And this is a part that people start to give up. You have to expect and even embrace the resistance that's about to come. Because there's going to be some things that you try to mobilize your people to go towards, that you try to get people to buy into. You try to get them to see your point of view on it. You got to embrace the resistance. People don't like change. And it could be the tiniest bit of change. People don't like it. So when you start to implement things, just understand that you sometimes will be met with resistance. But here's where I want you to shift your mindset at, right? I really want you to make that elevation change now. I want you to think to yourself and understand fully that the word resistance, scratch that out, and I want you to put understanding. So I want you to think about, embrace the process of understanding. Embrace the process of expecting people to want to understand your point of view. It's not resistance. Most people sound like they're trying to resist whatever it is that you're talking about, you want them to do, that you're giving them tips on, whatever it may be. most people will seem like they're resisting because they're not good at it. Because maybe their skill set they know that initially I'm going to suck. And you have to come in and say, you know what, that's okay. So embrace the resistance. Embrace the fact that someone will try to question you to understand why you do what you do, why you have these particular thoughts, how you got to this particular skill set. Understand that. So let's talk about what's next then. And this is the biggest part, because you cannot be a peer leader without this piece. I firmly believe it. Like, even when I was playing football, we had certain people, like, they just got appointed stuff because they had great character and stuff like that. Like, that's all fine and dandy. But the people who are really leading, the people who are really people that get looked up to, that people want to be like, that they want to emulate, whatever that may be, right? Whatever words you want to use, whatever semantics we want to go about, you have to make your work speak for itself. Make the work speak for you. And that's what sometimes people fall off the bandwagon too, or fall off the wagon itself too, not the bandwagon, but their work doesn't speak for itself. But they're trying to tell people this is what you should do. This is the direction you should go. I think you should change this about the flow of your day, but you're not good at your job. And you're not good at your position. So you got to learn how to master your position before you try to teach somebody something else. And there's a lot of times where these people, again, they're going to be appointed. They're going to say, hey, this person has great character. They do whatever it is that they say that I want them to do, whatever, right? They show up on time. They do all these things. Like, y'all know those people. And then when people look at them, they're like, but you're not good at your job. Why am I listening to you? So when you try to lead people, when you try to be that peer leader, when you don't have a title, it's very important that your work speaks for itself. And you can't get on people about, hey, man, I think you should get here on time, and you don't get here on time. Or, hey, man, if you could just get a little bit more productive, here's how you can get a little bit more efficient in your day, and you're not highly rated in your productivity. Hey, I think you can get a little bit more detail oriented. Here's how you can look at the details a little bit better, but you're always getting dinged on the quality of your work. So I want y'all to think about that for a second. Make the work speak for you, and then people will start to fall in line. And I wanted to capstone this particular topic, starting from building relationships and making sure that the work speaks for itself and speaks for you, because everything in the middle is great. But it will build on itself. And if you understand people and you make sure that your work speaks for you, everything else will fall into place, right? The tips in the middle are things that are going to make the process easier for you. But those are the two biggest things for you to figure out with your life, to figure out with your position on how to get people to lead into that particular position, right? So as we wrap this up, all of you know, at the end of every show, there's a saying that we're doing this because we want to be someone that someone else can lean on. So I want you to think about that as you got through this podcast. You're putting the work in. You're putting people in the right spot, right? You're being a team player. You're getting to know them. You understand that resistance is going to come. So with that note, that's the end of episode 7. Like this, subscribe, share this with somebody who needs this information, and we'll see you next week.